Being a stay-at-home mom is one of the most stressful jobs. We are constantly regulating emotions, teaching our children right from wrong, making all the meals, and trying to stay on top of the household chores. That's a lot of mental energy, and it's just not sustainable. And yet, we can't stop doing these things. So how do we juggle it all? As a busy mom, I completely understand the feeling of not having time to de-stress. And in my most overwhelming season of life, I discovered this idea of micro moments. Today, I'm going to share 5 tiny ways that you can lower stress today, right now, after this episode. Welcome to the Slowish Parenting Podcast. I'm your host, Alexis. I'm a mama to 2 little girls and a parenting coach. I help moms who are burned out, tired, and stressed feel happy and confident so they can enjoy a little more ease in their daily life. If you want to unlearn parenting and awaken your innate design, then you're in the right place. Alrighty, let's get into today's episode. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to another episode. Today we are talking about stress, and this episode I wanted to make it very actionable because when I was actually creating this episode, I was remembering the most recent season of stress in my life, and oh man, it's almost like reliving it in my body when I just even think about it. You may even be able to see my body and my facial expressions kind of shift because our bodies don't forget, they don't forget what that feeling felt like. And as I was kind of going through this, I was remembering a lot of my behaviors and it was really confusing. And each season I believe is going to teach us something, but in that season, I think what I gained the most was that I could do these tiny little micro things that could just help to get me unstuck enough to make forward motion. And forward motion is everything, because when you're in a stressed state, you are going to revert back to what is easiest. And for me, that was yelling and being short with my kids. Typically short. Yelling is more of like when I get to rage and past rage. Like I've stuffed rage down and I'm like, stay in there, don't come out. You're a bad mom if you yell, or if you start to feel rage, or you feel like you're going to rage, like you are a bad mom. And so when that starts to happen, I want to yell. And then it's really hard for me to access my calming tools, which if you are interested in downloading my calming tools, I have 14 of them. They're completely free. You can just comment rage below and I'll send you the link, and then you can have the full 8-minute video. But in this moment of stress, like I can't even access that, and it can be really frustrating. So if you are in this season right now, I think that this episode is going to be incredibly helpful for you to begin to get a handle on the stress. And these things that I'm telling you today, there's 5 things. These are all things that you can do right now when you're done with this video that will start to make an impact. Today, we're not going to talk about big concepts like nervous system or, even calming tools, or we're not even going to touch on those because in that moment, I couldn't even access them when I was that stressed. Like it wasn't even a thing. Like when people would say, okay, try deep breathing. Deep breathing was not even something I could do because I couldn't get my body to find enough calm. So these are just teeny tiny little things that are going to begin to help you take that breath, find that breath, to be able to pause. And I think that you're going to start to see that your body is able to open up and your body is able to find a second of calm so that way you can think logically. You can bring that prefrontal cortex on and really navigate the really ingrained behaviors that come with stress. And, I'll personally share for myself, I have found myself in those seasons reaching for chocolate. I find myself scrolling a lot on social media, really avoiding playing with my kids. And now, because I've gone through those seasons and I've come on the other side, when I start to notice myself reach for a piece of chocolate, or I'm noticing, the avoidance of my kids or the scrolling, maybe I re-download Facebook and I'm scrolling on my phone, right? Like, am I doing these things just because? No, my body is starting to resort or to refer back to what it knows best. And so these are my warning signs. These are the signs that I am going to use to begin noticing and taking action on things that'll help me to de-stress. So I hope that this podcast episode is as helpful for you as it would have been for me in those stressed out seasons, because I know how hard it is. So the very first tiny thing that you can begin doing to de-stress as a stay-at-home mom is finding a moment that is going to be called your anchoring moment for you to actually take a breath. And so I've shared this in many of my videos, but for the longest time, every time I made my coffee, like actually physically like poured my coffee into a cup, not like putting it in the coffee maker, but when I was actually holding my coffee, I made sure before I even drank that coffee, if you're not on YouTube, I'm pretending like I'm holding my cup, but I would hold my cup and I would look down at my cup and I would observe the top of the cup. And then after I was done observing it, I would just smell it. And as I began smelling it, I could find my body calming down enough to take a little bit of a breath. And as I was able to take that little bit of a breath, I was now able to take a bigger breath. And then it kind of just kept going. And this is something I could do with my kids around. It was not something that I couldn't, I had to do by myself in a room in a completely zen state. Like, none of these things are going to be that, because you're a mom, you stay at home, you're with your kids all day. How can you de-stress in those moments? So finding an anchoring moment, give you a couple more examples just to kind of get your brain thinking about other ways that you could find an anchoring moment. But another anchoring moment for me was the sunset. The sunset was a moment that I would see the sunset at night and it would draw me to the window. I would look out that window and I would see that beautiful sun setting. And I would use that as my moment just to be still. And maybe you can't access a breath. So one of my calming tools in the Rage calming tools, the free ones, if you want it, you can just comment Rage below and I will send them to you. But it's kind of this they say like clawing of the chest. That's not right. It's like a kneading. That's a better word. A kneading of the chest, kind of like a cat would. And this really starts to open up the chest and allows us to bring connection back to our own body, because so often we have become so disconnected because we're giving our children everything, right? We're giving them all the love and connection and attention and touch and very physical at times, especially if we're nursing. And so we need to bring that back online for ourselves before we can even take that breath. So finding these moments, whether, like I said, it's a coffee, it's when the sun rises, when the sun sets, maybe it's just every time you walk into your bathroom, maybe you have, you write like a quote that just reminds you, like anchor, maybe it's just the word anchor, to be simple. Maybe it's every time you get into your car. Maybe it's every time you walk into your baby's room to change their diaper, like whatever it may be, to help you really slow down and be able to access the calm that your body is so desperately needing in that moment. So the second thing is very practical, and it's going to be dim the lights. I right now have this like fluorescent-y kind of light, and it bothers me every time I record. And I realized that prior to having my second daughter, we had moved into our rental, and I never realized how much it bothered me, the lighting. It was like these LED, really bright lights. And I was reading that Hygge book. I can't remember what it's called right now. I'll link it below. But in the Hygge book, he talked about lighting, and I changed all of our lights to warm lights. And this made a drastic difference on my mental state. It made me feel calmer, more relaxed. I stopped using overhead lights and I would just use little lamps. I have 2 lamps in my bedroom that you just tap them and they're just like the perfect little warm light. And I find that lighting has really helped me to access calm when I'm feeling like way up here, like out of control. Sometimes I'll even just go around the house and turn all the lights off, even though they're warm lights, and just let the natural light kind of come into our home because it feels calm. And, with this, let's talk about warm lights. This is why candles are so soothing for so many people, the flicker of the flame. And so maybe it is turning on your beeswax candle and just letting it just kind of catch your gaze. Just let it be there and let it just be your anchoring point. Maybe it's being drawn to the window, like I said, with the sunset or the sunrise. Maybe that is your moment where you just allow your body to be still and find calm. And we all know, the sun is so good for our bodies, getting natural sunlight. And so, maybe you need to prioritize getting out in the morning for 15 minutes. It was something my midwife told me to do when I was pregnant with both my girls, was like, go outside for 15 to 20 minutes a day and just get natural vitamin D. It will increase your mood. And it did, like absolutely did. And, now we live in a place where right now it has been so rainy and cloudy for what feels like months. And I'm so ready for the sunshine to come back because it really does boost my mood. So find ways to use lighting to actually help your mental state and help you to find that calm that you're needing. And again, it's not like a big thing, but these tiny little things, as you do them all, they really start to help you to get access to enough calm to be able to access what you're needing to bring yourself down into that calm state. So the next thing that I love doing is getting outside or going to a window. Whenever I start feeling really stressed, when it's summertime here or spring or fall, I guess, I will take my kids on a walk. And that is so helpful. Not only the movement helps with kind of dispersing the energy that's going on inside the body when we're feeling really stressed, but it also just being out in the sunshine, being outside, getting fresh air, like it's all helpful. In the winter, when it's really cold, I will go outside with my kids, if it's not freezing. But if it is cold, I love going right to the window, and just looking outside. Again, I love to just let my gaze catch, or let my eyes gaze and catch what is in front of me, and really just focus on one thing. And so often I'm asking myself, like, Lord, show me all the beautiful things that you've created, because I think we can get so stuck in our own world that we're not looking outside of it, right? And so when I'm looking outside, I can see nature, I can see the creation, I can see all the beauty, and it helps me to get out of my own head and kind of see that there is something much bigger going on than just my own little world. So yeah, open a window, get outside, get natural sunlight, get the fresh air, like just open your windows. I usually open my windows for about 30 minutes a day, all of my windows, just a crack in the summer, or in the winter, sorry, when it's really cold. But it just helps. I don't know. It just helps, I think, with the mood and getting that fresh circulation of air in the house, especially if you're a stay-at-home mom. It's the only place you are all day. You need fresh and new. I'm a big believer in that. So the next thing you could do is try an adrenal cocktail. I love adrenal cocktails. I've mentioned them so many times. If you're unfamiliar with them, I learned these from Corey Malloy. She's over on Instagram. And I began the pro-metabolic I'm going to just call it healing journey back in 2021. So right before, like a month before I got pregnant with my second. And it has been such a healing journey for me. It's been a huge part of how I've been able to move past so much of the rage and the anxiety. It's all been part of the process. But it's, I don't want us to get fixated on a supplement or a specific nutrition plan, or even just this specific adrenal cocktail. Although these are very helpful for me and I really love them. And I guess I should say what they are in case you're like, totally unfamiliar. You're like, I've never heard of this. It's just orange juice, coconut water, salt, and collagen. And I drink one of these every single day. And I really do see a huge difference in my mood and also just in my overall stress levels. I find that I can like bring my stress down just by drinking one of these. And yeah, they just make me happy and feel like in a really good mood. So yeah, if you're interested in that, you can head over to Instagram. I'll link Corey's course before, I will link Corey's course below. And that is the Freely Rooted course. It is an affiliate link, but I'll link it below. This is the one I went through and learned all about healing your hormone health and balancing your hormones and getting stable energy and a stable mood, and doing that all through nutrition. So if that's something that interests you, definitely check that out because it's been a huge part of my journey. So the very last thing that I think more moms need to do to lower their stress, and it's very little, very small, make a list, brain dump. And I know it's simple, right? You're like, okay, yeah, I knew that. But do you actually do it? And for me, the answer was no. I would say, yeah, I know. I've got a list. The list was in my head. And the problem is that I was constantly going over the list. I was overwhelmed. I was like, there is so much to do. And in reality, there was like 5 things I needed to do. I just didn't know which one to start with. And by seeing it on paper, I was able to prioritize, which area I needed to start with. And I think so much of what we do, with coaching is helping you to identify the places to start. And this naturally begins to bleed into other areas of your life, making that list, which seems so simple, right? Like, here's my to-do list. But just looking at it and feeling overwhelmed. And, through coaching, we gain confidence of like, okay, this is what is important to me. And this is where I do want to start. This is what will make the biggest impact in helping me to lower my stress, lower my anxiety, lower my worry, my rage, all of it, because it's all interconnected. And, I think myself, I can so easily add on to my list. Like, I find myself starting my day with like 3 things. I'm huge on like numbers 3, the number 3, I guess. I like 3s of things. I find that like it feels very actionable and easy, but also very productive. So I'll like in the morning be like, oh yeah, I'll do these 3 things today. But then I'll start to feel like that's not enough, or that's not good enough, or I should be doing more. And this is where I have to really check myself and say, what's important to me? What's important to me right now, so that I am a calm and loving and empathetic and understanding mother that I know I can be. And I can only do that when I'm prioritizing what's important. And having everything up here just makes everything more stressful and crazy. And so sometimes just doing a brain dump, like literally just journaling everything out, even though it's a craziness on the paper, messy, nobody could read it, it's like chicken scratch. That is the kind of brain dump that like can really help to move you forward, and then give you the clarity to say, this is where I need to start, or this is what I need to do. And it also shows us that usually there's not as much to do as our brain is making it out to be, because it's stuck up here, right? It's stuck in our mind, and it can be really difficult for us to make sense of what needs to be done, what's important, what we should do, and it can just feel overwhelming. So anyway, today's podcast episode is a little bit shorter, but I hope that you walk away feeling like you have 5 actionable things you can begin doing today to lower your stress, so you can begin to see change and feel like you can access things like the rage calming tools, which again, if you want those, you can just comment rage below and I will send them to you. But being able to move forward in our stress is huge. And we can't do that when when we can't even access it, you know? So anyway, I want to thank you guys for being here with me today. If you have any questions or thoughts or any of the above, please feel free to comment below. And yeah, as always, I hope that you guys have a good rest of your week and happy